Hi, gang. Wow, I am really going to be in the minority on this one. If the voting, when it's all said and done, is as it was when just a handful of people had voted, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But I am really going to be in the minority. That's okay. It's happened many times before. What am I talking about? The Friday poll question at Smerconish.com. Did the jury get it right in acquitting the man who threw a sandwich at a federal officer? I mean, it sounds comical, and as I'm about to describe, a lot of those who are commenting, everybody's got a joke, a condiment joke, it seems, about this incident. But I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny at all, and I don't like the precedent that it sets, but I'll tell you more in a sec. Thank you to my friends at Parks Casino. It was great to be at Parks Casino the other night for Stories and Cigars with Smerconish. As I said to the folks at Parks when it ended, and everybody was really thrilled with how it turned out, and the comments have been really wonderful as well. They said, well, are you going to do a third one? Is there going to be a third, annual Stories and Cigars with Smerconish at Parks? I said, I don't know. It depends what my 2026 brings. I need some new stories. Action, excitement, entertainment, they've got it all going on at Parks Casino, a great place to mingle. And check this out. Maybe you'll want to do this on Sunday. Every Sunday at 12 noon, every Monday at 6 p.m. at the Bet Parks Sportsbook, they're serving up the ultimate fan experience. $1 hot dogs, $3 Miller Lights, $5 Peronis, and wall-to-wall action on the 150-foot giant sportsbook screen. Headliners coming to the Excite Center, Straight No Chaser, Get the Lead Out, Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers. That's real soon. All the details are at parkscasino.com, parxcasino.com. You got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yesterday's poll results, 34,537. This was a great conversation, and I'm hoping to extend it into my Saturday program on CNN. If its principles were better understood, would a majority of Americans embrace democratic socialism? I don't want to repeat everything that I said yesterday, but the short version is you take a look at the Tuesday election results, and you had Abigail Spanberger win, portraying mostly a moderate platform in Virginia, and Mikey Sherrill doing likewise in New Jersey. One, a former CIA case officer, the other, a Navy helicopter pilot. Two women very, very good on their feet who, interestingly, used to be roommates on Capitol Hill. I mean, it's a really interesting story. But that was one path to victory. And then there was Zohran Mamdani running successfully in New York City, and quite an upset to defeat Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary and then to beat him again in the general election with the eyes of the world. The question becomes, and it's not a short-term question, because I think in the midterms Democrats can be many things to many people, but for the presidential race in 2028, which of those paths is a path to the White House? Or said differently, can you sell democratic socialism in the United States? And I think that, the S word, socialism, has such a negative connotation for many because they envision the old Soviet Union or Fidel Castro. That's not what democratic socialism is. It's not what social democracy is as practiced in a number of Scandinavian countries, where, by the way, according to the World Happiness Index, they're living good lives. If Americans knew more about what it means, could it be sold here? And I thought about this last night. I mean, there's so many aspects of our lives already today that could be described as socialism, not the least of which is Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. I mean, socialism's already here in some degree. And President Trump, by the way, in taking a piece of businesses on our behalf that he's bailed out, has also exhibited some socialist tendencies. So what was really fun yesterday is that Frank Luntz was a guest on the program, the Republican wordsmith, and I said to him, Frank, if you were, as an academic exercise, tasked with selling democratic socialism, how would you do it? And he made clear, that he'd never want it to be the case, but he played along yesterday. And you should listen to the podcast release of the way in which he approached that argument. One thing that I think is salient, he said a lot of really brilliant things, and it was interesting to hear how his pitch would be carried out. it would take, 10 to 20 minutes to make the pitch and convince somebody that democratic socialism was not a bad thing if Frank were to engage in this exercise. But when I pushed him, there wasn't a tagline. There wasn't a word choice. There wasn't a death tax instead of estate tax when all was said and done. But it was great. Really, really good stuff. Anyway, that was yesterday. Today, okay, so I'm looking at the story. Here's the headline from the Washington Post, and Sal Rizzo, is going to be on radio with me today. Jury finds D.C. sandwich guy not guilty of assaulting officer. Jury acquitted him yesterday. The man charged with assault, he threw a sandwich at a federal agent during President Trump's crime crackdown on the nation's capital. The one-sided food fight, which was captured on video and spread through social media, became a slapstick symbol of resistance to Trump's summertime takeover of law enforcement. And there are a lot of tongue-in-cheek comments in the way in which Sal reports on this. And the comments, of which there were more than 2,500 when I checked, all made light of this case. Let me give you a quick taste. See, I just did it. Let me give you a quick taste of the sandwich case. Quote, fair is fair. If it's acceptable to try to impale a police officer with a flagpole on the steps of the Capitol, so is tossing a sandwich. All right, that's not a funny comment, but that's indicative of what the comments included. How about this? When asked about the acquittal, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro said, no condiment. He. I laughed at the terminology used to describe the incident by the prosecution. The sandwich was thrown at point blank range. The sandwich exploded all over the soldier's chest. What a clown show by Pirro and her team. Or you go to war not with the sandwiches that you want, but with the sandwiches that you have. Jury says, baloney. He. And in part of the jury instruction, and I'll go through this in detail on radio today, but the judge, Carl Nichols, instructed the jury that in order to convict this man, they would have to find that he acted forcibly and generated a reasonable apprehension of immediate bodily harm. And that was the avenue that the defense used to say, well, he never really feared for his safety because he was wearing a bulletproof vest. And this is a key part. And at work, his co-workers have all made fun of this. Here's a paragraph from the Washington Post. During closing arguments on Wednesday, Schroff questioned whether Larimore, that's the defense lawyer, questioning whether the victim really felt threatened, noting that his co-workers gave him a plush toy sandwich as a gag gift, which he displayed on his office shelf, and an insignia that he affixed on his lunchbox showing a likeness of Dunn hoisting a hoagie above the words felony footlong. And said the defense lawyer, they're joking about it with each other, and they're joking about it with Agent Larimore. And why? Because they all think it's funny. Well, okay, the agent, you may not agree with the agent being deployed by the president. Here's my pitch. You may not be in agreement with the White House, with the administration deploying this guy, but the guy was deployed. And he's doing a job. And he's doing a job in the uniform of his country. And the fact that his co-workers ribbed him about somebody throwing a sandwich, which, quote unquote, explodes on his uniform, and he, goes along with the gag in the office by affixing this insignia on his lunchbox, I don't think that means he finds it funny. And even if he does find it funny, what kind of a precedent does it set? So that the next time there's some kind of a scene of civil unrest, a deployment of troops, that people are going to take license now. Hey, he threw a hoagie and he got away with it. What can I throw at a federal agent and similarly get away with it? No, I don't like it at all. And it's clearly a case of jury nullification. It is clearly, in my mind, a case of the jury being presented with rather straightforward facts. This guy did it. He admitted that he did it. It was captured on video. And then you had a jury comprised of DC area residents who come together, and because they don't like Trump and they don't like the deployment of troops, they take it out on this agent, meaning by failing to convict a misdemeanor against the sandwich thrower. I don't want the sandwich thrower, locked up and thrown away the key, but yeah, there needs to be a message sent. I think it's terrible. I know. I'm getting worked up over the Hoagie case, but I don't like it at all. And then you throw in Jeanine Pirro. Oh, nobody likes Pirro. She was on Fox. That's what all these comments say. That's beside the point. That is beside the point. A trial jury in U.S. District Court, so this was a federal court case, rejected the charge, deliberating for 7 hours over 2 days before returning a not guilty verdict. It was the highest profile repudiation to date of Pirro's efforts to ratchet up penalties for local offenses. They brought an initial charge of a felony. That was a mistake. But that's where I come out on it. Here's the write-up from the Post. The meatiest factual dispute concerned whether the salami sub had exploded on the CBP agent's uniform. The agent, Gregory Larimore, testified that he mostly tried to ignore Dunn's late-night tirade outside a Subway restaurant until he felt the impact of the sandwich through his bulletproof vest. The sandwich kind of exploded all over my uniform, Larimore said. It smelled of onions and mustard. Defense attorney Sabrina Schroff then displayed a photo of the wrapped sandwich on the ground and pressed the agent to clarify whether it had really exploded. Larimore said that a piece of the sub seemed to be visible in the photo. I had mustard and condiments on my uniform and an onion hanging from my radio antenna that night. Oh, that's really funny. I don't think it's funny at all. I just don't. I know. I'm prepared to be the outlier. That's fine. Go vote at Smerconish.com. Did the jury get it right in acquitting the man who threw a sandwich at a federal officer? One more thing, please. Mingle episode number 7, Scott Galloway, who's the author of the hottest book in the country right now, Notes on Being a Man, available right here on my YouTube page. Please go and watch the video. Many already have. 7 episodes of the Mingle Project are in the can. I'm proud of all of them. Episode 8 already in the works. We're going to keep going, but Galloway was great. This book of his is the most effective case for mingling, in this instance, for our men, that I have seen. I'm immensely proud of it, and I hope you'll watch it right here on YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're listening and you're not watching, I invite you to not only listen to the podcast, but to watch on YouTube as well. Okay? Thank you so much. Set yourself up for notifications so that when I'm here, you'll know about it first. Did the jury get it right in acquitting the man who threw a sandwich at a federal officer? Hell no, is my answer. See you, everybody.